Avoidant is the term usefully coined by attachment theorists to define those of us who, through no fault of our own, but with full responsibility for our condition, have grave difficulties around intimate relationships. It's a word that can feel clinical, but the experience it describes is deeply personal and often painful. In principle, we may genuinely want to be close to people. We may watch movies, read books, and see friends in happy partnerships and think, I want that. But in the stark reality of our own lives, we tend to find ourselves feeling claustrophobic, cornered, and even sickened whenever we grow overly involved with anyone. This isn't a simple preference for solitude. It's a visceral, almost involuntary reaction. It's the feeling of invisible walls closing in when someone says, I miss you. It's the sudden, inexplicable urge to find flaws in a person who, just yesterday, seemed wonderful. We find ourselves longing to sleep somewhere on our own after an evening of lovemaking, not out of rejection, but from a desperate need to reclaim our own space, to breathe our own air. We want to make independent plans for the weekend, feeling a sense of panic at the idea of 48 hours of uninterrupted togetherness. We rather ungratefully cool whenever a partner becomes too affectionate towards us. A warm, loving compliment can feel like a heavy weight. And most tellingly, if a relationship threatens to truly work, though, become stable, secure, and deeply committed, our thoughts turn, as though by some automatic, pre-programmed process, to the imagined charms of other people, to escape routes, to any reason at all why this cannot and should not last. Researchers and therapists tell us where this comes from, and the roots run deep into the soil of our earliest years. Somewhere long in our pasts, our fundamental relationships with our caregivers didn't go as they should have. This doesn't necessarily mean a childhood of obvious trauma. Sometimes the causes are quieter, more subtle. Perhaps a parent was emotionally unavailable, present in body but absent in spirit. Perhaps they were inconsistent, warm one moment and cold the next, teaching us that affection was a precarious and unreliable resource. Or perhaps a caregiver was overly intrusive, suffocating our burgeoning sense of self, leaving us with a feeling that true autonomy could only be found in emotional distance. Whatever the specific scenario, someone let us down. Someone implicitly taught us a devastating lesson, that love was not to be trusted, that needing someone was a liability, that vulnerability was a doorway to pain. Someone, without ever meaning to, injected us with a dual suspicion of ourselves. I am not worthy of consistent love, and a suspicion of the solidity of any bond with another. This, too, will fail or hurt me. And so, as a brilliant act of self-preservation, we learn to associate distance and solitude with safety. Our young minds created an equation. Intimacy equals danger. Independence equals survival. We may have grown up to be high-functioning, successful, and competent in many parts of life, but when it comes to love, we may until now simply never have been able to get the math to work. It sounds dispiriting, a life sentence of lonely evenings and broken connections. It can even make us feel rather dangerous to be around, a source of inevitable pain for anyone who gets too close. But we can and must find hope in an important distinction. There is a substantial, life-altering difference between acting avoidantly from unconscious motives on the one hand, and on the other, feeling the powerful draw of avoidant responses while being actively and preemptively aware of what is actually going on. There is a difference, in other words, between acting out and insight. The latter insight, though, miraculously remove the problem. The old programming still runs. The alarm bells still ring at the first sign of real intimacy. But insight gives us an enormous, game-changing advantage. It grants us the capacity to step outside of the automatic reaction, to observe it, and most importantly, to warn others that we care about and might well, in a rational part of our minds, be sincerely trying to build a relationship with that we are not fully well. It allows us to narrate our own struggle instead of simply becoming its victim. Arguably, in love, we don't need, or are in any case unlikely to find, perfection. What a gift it would be if we could all be perfectly secure. But reality is messy. What we truly need are people with a more or less solid grasp on some of their leading imperfections, who can then warn us of them with charm, grace, and a sincere apology before too much damage has been done. Let's make this concrete. There is a sizable difference between ruining a weekend for someone by mysteriously texting on a Friday afternoon that one isn't feeling well or has made other plans, leaving the partner confused, hurt, and suspicious. That is acting out. The alternative is explaining to the partner, perhaps on a Thursday evening, that the prospect of 48 hours in their company, though fully welcome in theory, in practice has generated an awkward and powerful set of emotional responses that lie outside one's full control and for which one feels embarrassed and thoughtful. That is insight in action. The first path creates wreckage. The second can, paradoxically, build a bridge of deeper understanding. There is a sizable difference between acting madly and sharing the temptation to do so ahead of time. For the person on this journey, for the recovering avoidant, learning a new language of emotional honesty is key. The following speech, or some version of it, might be a helpful template. I need to tell you something, and I'm so sorry for how peculiar it might sound. I care about you a lot, more than I sometimes know how to show. It's just, I've observed a pattern in myself. When I do care deeply, something a bit odd happens. A part of me, a very old part, tries to manage the distance and find fault. This part of me dates back to a defense mechanism I built in childhood, and it needs to put some walls between us because proximity, for reasons I'm still untangling, feels at some deep level both odd and frightening. It's how I learned to cope way back then, and that mechanism still operates within me now. It is not that I don't love you. Please believe that. It's that being around love and truly, depending on someone, brings with it a host of terrors on account of dynamics in my past that I am actively working on. I'm trying to learn how to switch off the alarm. I know I can be a little crazy, but I have a good therapist and I'm committed to the work. Please, if you can, bear with me, but I would understand entirely if you couldn't. This is my burden to carry, and it's not fair to ask you to carry it too without your full consent. None of this is perfect. One wouldn't necessarily wish this kind of relationship on anyone one cared about. It is a relationship with an added layer of complexity. But in the real world, which is where the 25% or so of the population with avoidant traits have to live, we cannot magic away the condition. We have options. We can have all the neuroses that our condition lends us. We can feel eerie whenever someone is too close. We can want to get away after too much time together. We can even hate cuddling, but we can put in the effort to acquire one definitive, life-changing advantage. We can know we are damaged. We can develop the courage to give a map of our follies to those who depend on us. Furthermore, once we've laid hands on the maturity to be able to say out loud, I find love so hard and so frightening, the monster in the closet loses some of its power. It might even become a little less frightening. And on the other side of the equation, once a partner has been thoroughly and lovingly warned, they may just find the sad, confusing behavior easier to bear. They can learn to depersonalize it. Instead of thinking he's pulling away because he doesn't love me, they can think this is his avoidance pattern, the one he told me about. This isn't about my worth, it's about his wound. This allows them to respond with compassion instead of fear, and where necessary, to get cleanly out of the way of the emotional shrapnel. We don't just have the binary option of being avoidant or not. That is a false choice. The madness can be invited into the relationship and addressed with honesty, without shame or mystery. We can aspire to a valuable, noble third position as we work on improving ourselves, that of the recovering avoidant under no illusions as to their sanity, and daily committed to the difficult, beautiful work of learning to slowly bear the ecstasy and sublime risks of mutual love. This path of the recovering avoidant is not about erasing the past, but about building a future with honesty at its core. It is the courageous act of turning towards a partner and offering them not a flawless heart, but a transparent one. It is the understanding that a true connection is not built on the absence of fear, but on the willingness to face that fear together. A relationship forged in such truth, where both partners can acknowledge their wounds and commit to navigating them with kindness, becomes a testament to a different, more profound kind of love. It is a love story written not in perfect prose, but with honest, heartfelt footnotes that make the entire narrative richer and more resilient. This is the ultimate victory, to transform the fear of intimacy into the very foundation upon which a deeper, more meaningful connection is built. If this journey of self-understanding and healing resonates with you, we invite you to continue exploring with us. For more content that delves into the complexities of our minds and hearts, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support allows us to continue creating thoughtful content like this. Thank you for being here.